I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. I'd like to ask everybody, please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. Would you do our invocation, please, sir?
Would you bow with me for a word of prayer? Father, we are so thankful at this time of year for the things that we have been able to experience throughout this year. As we come to this holiday season, we just ask that you continue to lead and guide us. Help us to remember the reason for the season and what we are here for. So tonight, as the council goes through the different motions of the things that they have to do and the codes that are going to be approved and talked about, just ask that you would give them guidance as they do, wisdom as they talk, and as they discuss things. Be with this whole evening and guide their hearts and minds. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Roll call.
Mr. Hershey.
Here.
Mr. Keys.
Here.
Mr. Chadwick.
Here.
Mrs. Salmonson.
Here.
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Okay, all's present and accounted for. So I'm going to move on to item 4, which is a presentation, which is the Mayor's Walking Challenge. In October, the Blue Cross Foundation of Idaho does a walking challenge throughout the state for all the mayors. If they can walk 5,000 steps a day on average, they would donate $1,000 to the city for activities and such. And we also, so basically you had to have 150,000 steps. I had 230,000, that's just what it ended up being. I think it was, right, Dana? Somewhere in there. I still haven't lost any weight from it. The baby steps, that's what I took, right? I was shuffling to the food line. So
Did you tie it to your dog's tail?
so I put a challenge out there to the citizens as well, and we had several folks submit their results, and we did a drawing, and we're going to give out 2 $100 gift cards to these folks, or each of them gets one. So the first one is Miss Linda Dominguez, right? And she walked an average of 18,000 steps a day. That's a lot. The second one is Dara Lopez, and she walked an average of 7,400 steps a day. So nice job. And thank you everybody for submitting. And we had Councilman Hershey also was part of that, but he was not included in the drawing. So we're going to give him a little honorable mention and just thank him because you guys have seen him. He runs with flags, he walks, he does a lot of exercise. So it's outstanding. All right. Good. Miss Dana, we're good on that one? Oh, and the city staff will reach out to you on getting you those gift cards as soon as they have them in hand. All right, we'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 5A, City Council meeting minutes of August 3rd, 2021. 5B, City Council meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021. Item 5C, City Council meeting minutes of August 24th, 2021. Item 5D, City Council meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021. Item 5E, approval of claims provided and previously approved. Item 5F, findings of fact and conclusion of law, Fountain Park subdivision. Item 5G, findings of fact and conclusion of law, Rooster Hollow subdivision. Item 5H, finding of fact and conclusion of law, Moon Valley Townhome subdivision. Item 5I, findings of fact and conclusion of law, Landon Village subdivision. Item 5J, findings of fact and conclusion of law, Milestone subdivision. Item 5K, findings of fact and conclusion of law, Iron Mountain Vista subdivision. Item 5L, finding of fact and conclusion of law, Tommy's Car Wash. And item 5M, final plats, Fallbrook subdivision number 5.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman, we'll go Councilman Nielsen first.
I will abstain from the vote on this because I have not reviewed these items.
Okay. Councilman Keys.
yeah, for the Rooster Hollow Development Agreement. It said that setbacks are waived or basically zero. And I just wanted to clarify that was only for the townhomes. There are some single family detached in there and we did not make the setbacks zero on those.
Correct.
The architectural guidelines to be followed, I believe, are those found in the about to be adopted architectural overlay district.
We did bring that up, I think, correct? Yes, okay, yep.
And then in the Iron Mountain Vista Development Agreement, there's an emergency access easement that is, once they get the northern access established, they're to modify that emergency access agreement to become a maintenance access agreement only.
Correct. You got that, Sean?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the findings list the development agreement items in them. So.
Okay. So you're amending your motion to with those
I amend my motion to include those
changes. Okay. Second.
Yes, second stands.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that was 3 ayes there, Jacob. You got that? Mr. Nielsen abstained. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item 6A. Go to the action item that we need to approve the 2021 municipal election results, review, acknowledgement, and acceptance. And I got them pulled up here on the board, on the computer up here. And I just want to just make a clarification that Canyon County has Kevin wrong. It has it listed as Evan Wheelock. It should be Kevin Wheelock with an A, K-E-V or K-A-V or K-E-V-A-N. Yeah, there we go. You guys see that right there? Okay.
Oh, they just cut it off.
Make a motion to approve or
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I make a motion to approve the 2021 municipal election results review, acknowledgement, and acceptance with the change that you've indicated.
Okay. Got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 6B, the ordinance for Grace Assisted Living Facility Annexation Development Agreement is going to be removed, correct?
Race is removed?
Yeah, item 6B is removed. Item 6C, this is per staff. Item 6C, the ordinance 348 for Stargazer subdivision annexation and development agreement is being removed as well. And so we're going to move on to item 6D, ordinance 349 for the Stardust subdivision rezone and development agreement. We need to suspend us of the rules. If anybody wants to do it. I think everybody's given Councilman Keys all the talk right now since he's almost done doing this, right?
Get it out of the system.
Okay, Councilman Nielsen.
I move that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days with 1 reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 349 be considered after reading once by title only.
We got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Need a I'm sorry. We need a motion to approve the ordinance. Anybody want to do it or
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Key or Nielsen?
I move that we approve ordinance number 349, Stardust Ranch subdivision rezone, and ordinance rezoning certain real property located in the city of Star, more specifically located at West Floating Feather Road, Star, Idaho, Ada County parcel S04071200610, rezoning the property from residential R2 to residential R3 DA with a development agreement. The property is owned by Loftus Group LLC and contains approximately 2.17 acres. directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters and providing for an effective date.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Hershey.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 6E, ordinance 352 Rooster Hollow rezone and development agreement is also being removed, correct, Sean? 6E, Rooster, is being removed from the items tonight as well. Okay. We're gonna move on to item 7A. We're gonna move on to the public hearing for the comprehensive plan amendment and South of River Plan. I just gotta ask Ms. Dana, is the people that are online, are they here to speak to any of these or, you know? Ms. Jen Gardner, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I was trying to hit the unmute button.
That's
We,
We deal with that all the time. I just want to know, are you here to speak to any of these plans? Or are you just in the background to help out?
just in the background to help out.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna have Councilman Keys. I'm gonna open the public hearing on this, and there's no ex parte on this because this is a legislative deal. So I'm gonna open the public hearing at 7:11, not truly 7:11, but it's a 7:11 p.m. And I'm gonna have Councilman Keys go ahead and speak towards the South River Plan, the comprehensive plan amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I sent out for review by staff and the council a week ago the updated plan. There's since I sent that out, there's been one change in that the maps that had placeholders in the plan have been updated. So if you look at the link now, I believe it's got the updated plan.
Which one do you want me to look at right here?
This is for the South of the River Plan.
I know, but do you know which link on here? Is it the suggested changes version 2? The last one? Not the resolution.
The last one.
Okay, this one right here. Okay,
So subsequent to a meeting we had, I believe it was in June, we've made several changes to this. And I want to thank Ryan Field, and also the staff at Logan Simpson for the effort they put in to this to bring this across the finish line. One of the things that we've done is we've created a new code designation called Riverfront Center. There's an ordinance that creates that. It's also been prepared. So hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review that as well. One of the things I wanted to point out in the Riverfront Center is while it does allow for housing, because of what we're trying to create there, there's no single family detached there. So it's all a variety of housing types, but it does not include single family detached. We've also updated the design standards. We put quite a bit more work into that. We also created some language around the comprehensive plan that we didn't have last June that further defines some of these districts, and we've updated the maps accordingly. And with that, I'd like to ask the council to weigh in on their thoughts on this plan.
okay, I just want to clarify too, we're not going to vote on this tonight. This is going to be left open until the 21st to give the public an opportunity to submit comments in writing as well, and or make a comment at the next hearing that we can address. Okay? All right. With that said, any questions or comments from any of the council or staff? Nothing? So so this has been a year plus in the making here, and
Almost two.
well, I mean, but since we approved this in August of 2020. I think this is an important document in our city's future on providing a path for the south of the river. We do need to make certain that we do address the concerns and comments that the Phillips and Stillwells had from that letter that Sean sent out today. So I would suggest everybody kind of take a look at that letter here in the next week or two and just kind of review that and see what that means for them and for us and what we can do there. So, but this, we had several hundred people. I think it was several hundred right there, Miss Jen. Is that right? That participated?
About 1,000, I think.
About 1,000 overall total with all the meetings that we've had. But we had people in person, we had it online, and got a really good idea of what we want to see this area look like south of the river. It's an opportunity for us to put a vision as a community to the direction of that area versus it all just turning into housing developments and stuff like that, in my opinion. So, again, though, we need to take the property rights of the landowners into consideration based on their letter and just kind of look at that as a whole, right? And some of their concerns were, if you guys haven't seen it, Mike, because I know it just came out today, but some of their concerns were, for instance, park space, right? If other areas around them are starting to develop and then we push all the wanted park space onto their property, then that doesn't make it as valuable to them as it could, which I think we've addressed some of this already with some upcoming plans anyway that you guys have not seen yet. So, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that was actually a question I had. And we had some stuff that was coming in here and it got pulled or tabled or we didn't really see much. Is the community that's going to be developing, like, I haven't heard anything negative, but are they pretty much like, other than the concern of the park space, are they looking at this going, yeah, that's a good idea?
So the three, you're talking the three, I think those three properties you guys will hear on January 11th. Is that right, Sean? Those property owners and those properties were taken into consideration with this plan. So their stuff is incorporated in this plan as well.
So it'd match is what,
Yeah.
what you're saying. Okay.
Yep.
That helps. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I did re-review the Phillips letter. That was a letter that was originally delivered to the city in August of this year. When I reviewed it against this plan, I don't actually think there's anything in this plan that's inconsistent with their wishes. And in fact, I think if you look at the land use designations that we have here, they're probably of a type that would enhance the value of their property if they intend to sell it at some point in the future. So I'd love to hear their thoughts given the new plan, but I don't think that this plan is inconsistent with their desires.
I think, Mr. Sean, can we make sure that they get a copy of this here and and that they can make comments for us for the next meeting on there, just to kind of, so they can actually review the update on here. So,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
can you tell me where where their property is?
The Phillips and Stillwells are the property eastern side and west side of Star Road,
Okay.
going from the river to almost the bench, to Joplin Road, basically.
And how far east and west does it go?
Oh, it's pretty deep. I think, what does it encompass, Sean? Do you know, 400 or 500 acres over there? It's quite a large chunk of land over there on that. So,
Okay,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman?
sorry, Councilwoman, were you
I'm
finished?
done. Yep.
Did the Phillips and Stillwells participate in this process, or does
They had their representative participate in the beginning of the process when they were doing the virtual meetings, I believe, on that.
You know, we've had a few conversations about parks in this plan.
Mhm.
You know, in my experience, typically parks are donated by property owners, developers, or the city has gone to acquire the land. And so again, in my experience, this is the first time that we're putting together a plan where we're designating park areas. And the thought that I have on this is that those park areas are really well thought out. And I think you all know the one up on the bench that we originally had designated is particularly attractive to me, where we have property owners coming to us concerned about the value of their property and that they don't have original intent for those areas to become parks. That's a little bit of odds with the way parks are typically, presented to the city. So, or the opportunity is presented to the city. And so I guess I would like to encourage us to think about how we might overcome that challenge where there's not a desire to donate or give at a reduced, rate. How would the city acquire that property and fulfill the full measure of this plan as originally intended? And keep those property owners whole.
So I will, just, I'm gonna comment on this. Do we can say something? Sorry, I was gonna comment on this. I do know that we're utilizing a lot of that floodway as park space as part of our plan, but there is a landowner along Joplin that would rather have his property turned into park space versus development, and they would be excited about doing that. We had a conversation with them as well. So I think a lot of this is going to work itself out over the period of time as things happen, right? The basis of our plan, I think, will be fine in addressing your concerns on there, or your comments, I guess. Not necessarily concerns, but your comments.
Yeah, I think it addresses it in principle. Part of my concern is our original plan, and in particular, the park that was designated up on the bench.
Right.
There just aren't a lot of bench opportunities in Star, and to have a public space where everybody can enjoy that overlook and view. To me, I think that feels like a really important amenity for our city.
Right. And the one, I think it's about 30 acres, I think.
Bean property?
No, it's not the Bean property.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's on the west side of Joplin.
I think it is the Bean property.
Is that the Bean? Maybe it is,
I
yeah.
think the one in my
Yeah.
mind is the Bean property. So I guess I'd like for the city, to consider how we can accomplish that and keep that property owner whole.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I think if Councilman Nielsen would review the plan, you'd find that there is a Chittenden Overlook Park that is furnished in the park plan that is not encompassing the Bean property. Part of the Bean's concern was that it was their entire parcel was being designated as a park rather than just a fraction of it. And when you designate their entire parcel as a park, that has obviously a huge impact on its market value versus a 5 or a 10% fraction of a parcel.
I would tell you this is not the Bean property that
So-
I'm referring to.
Okay, but in
Mr.
fact,
Mayor,
the Chittenden Overlook Park that was presented in this
Right.
current version of the plan is adjacent to the Bean property, but it's not the Bean property.
And Mr. Mayor, in response to that, I get it. I have reviewed that portion of the plan, and I would still like to see if we can, accomplish that original design and keep Mr. Bean and all the property owners whole.
Sure. Okay. Any further comments? Any comments from Logan Simpson online? How many do we have online, Ms. Dana? Just
No
Jen?
No comment from me.
Okay. Do we have anybody sign up that's here on that sheet back there that wants to speak right now? Where did Ryan go? Oh, he's taking minutes? Okay. Nobody? Okay. So then what we're gonna do on this is we're just gonna leave this public hearing open until December 21st. Or did anybody here want to speak, I guess? There's only 3 of you here. So, no? Okay, do you want to speak? So you got to come up here for me and state your name and address, please, for the record.
He's Mike Petras, says 11931 West Trail Heights over here in Star off Munger. I'm just more or less kind of concerned about the infrastructure keep up to all this. I mean, we can see
For
that
this plan?
well, for any of these plans
Well, so
that we
the,
got going on. I guess I'm speaking out of turn because this is my first city council meeting I've ever been to, and I apologize about this, council.
no, it's okay.
But I mean, you can kind of see the toll it's taken on the city of Star here with the rapid expansion and growth that we got going everywhere. ACHG's pretty much dragging their feet with everything that they do. Are we going to be able to keep up?
Yep. Because if you go look at my State of the City address that I did online, I've met with every single agency that we have out here, including sewer and water, the schools, the road departments. The thing is the road departments will never do things ahead of time. It's always
No,
going to
they
be
won't.
catch up. Doesn't matter what we try to do there, right? The sewer and water department has over 5,000 hookups still available to their system. So I get it, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I've been here since 1993, basically in the
Yes,
city of
sir.
Star, and I've seen the growth. But we can truly keep up. I even talked to the power company and the Intermountain Gas, right? And just to make certain that we can keep up with this at the rate that it's going. It's frustrating as all can be
Oh,
to
sure.
have this traffic right here in front of this building, right? All stacked up. But we do know that this is being improved here within the next 2 years.
2 years.
All the way from Linder Road, all the way down to Canada.
Okay.
So the infrastructure is coming. And some of this, when we talk infrastructure, most of it's traffic is what most people are referring to, right? I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but
Well, just
but
in general, I
all
think. is
the
what
other
I'm-
stuff for certain that we are able to keep up with that. School districts is different, right?
Yeah.
We think that, okay, our kids south of we're part of a greater district, right? Sorry, I gotta get a drink.
No, that's fine.
So we're part of a greater district, which means that our kids are not going to go necessarily to the school in our city, right?
Mhm.
It's wherever they build the schools. They got capacity to move these kids around, which they have done.
Sure.
Star Elementary is, I think, pretty packed, but they actually lost kids since the beginning of the year. And so they have capacity now there as well.
I don't think it's so much of the schools as so much as the traffic and being able to,
Traffic is the
navigate your
huge
way
thing.
around this town.
So I'm
Yes.
gonna, let me,
I've been here for 3 years and I've already seen a triple.
it's gone up quite a bit. Let's talk about real quick. So there's 15,000 vehicle trips per day that go through Highway 16, Highway 44. Intersection,
Okay,
east
sir.
intersection east and west. You got me all choked up.
Huh.
And then there's 9,000 vehicle trips a day at Canada and Highway 44.
Yes, sir.
There's only 6,000 vehicle trips a day being generated technically through the city of Star.
Hmm.
9,000 of those are coming from the Canyon County, which is the Caldwell Middleton side, which we can't control.
Sure.
Right. And so what we're doing is we're controlling this by creating these plans, right? And
Okay.
updating our comprehensive plan and making the adjustments that are necessary for how we think our traffic and stuff, or not traffic, but our growth should be.
Sure.
So we are addressing that. And I
Yeah,
completely.
it just
get
feels
your
like everything's
concern.
being shut down and now we got 5 more subdivisions on the map. We've got,
Well, those are already approved.
Well,
right?
I know, I'm sorry, what I mean on the map, they're approved. And it just begs the question, hence why I came down here and just
Sure.
said, hey,
No, I
what's
completely
what's
get it.
going on with our infrastructure? Because it seems like nobody else really wants to bring up the elephant in the room.
Nope, I bring it up every time.
Oh,
I
okay,
have a
well then-
meeting.
Well,
I
then
have
I
no-
guess I'm not
I have no
listening.
issue with that elephant.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's,
Sweet.
yeah, it's a concern and that's why we keep working on it. We put things in place with impact fees with Canyon County Highway District, a proportionate share agreement with ITD to try to help get funding ahead of time to pay for some of the state highway improvements. So we're doing all the things we need to do to help with this.
Mhm.
This plan right here, this is us as a city saying, listen, we're gonna get ahead of the game. Instead of just saying in our comprehensive plan that we just want housing here,
Mhm.
this is how we as a community want to see this develop in that area, which has
Sure.
commercial side of it. And when we look at the south of the river, we're talking San Antonio Riverwalk style, right?
Sure.
Things like that. So we're trying to get ahead of that game for that. So people know when they purchase this is what the city's looking for.
Sweet.
So
Well,
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you my card and my contact, and you and all your neighbors and friends or whatever, if you want to chat, man, we can sit down and talk, and I can talk about all this stuff for hours.
Sounds great.
That these guys don't want me to.
Hey, well, thank you for the clarification, Mr.
All right,
Mayor.
you
Council
bet.
members, thank you
Mr.
so
Mayor?
much.
Yeah, hey, sorry, go ahead. Hang on one second.
I'd also like to add that Star, we've only been a city now for like 24 years. So
Yes.
we've never had a transportation plan. We've developed very randomly and it shows. You're absolutely right.
Sure.
But what we've done in the last few years, Star's been on a planning tear for the last 4 years.
I've noticed.
And along with that, we put in place our ECAMP map, which is our corridor access map. So we're defining corridors for future roads where they've never been defined before. Star's never planned that, and we're leaning into it pretty heavily now.
Right.
I'd encourage you to go learn more about what the mayor was talking about, the proportionate share agreement, because Star was the very first city in Idaho to come up with that. We're leaning into this hard.
Yeah, sure.
But to
But
your
it's also
point,
ACH.
playing catch up.
I'm sorry. Well, absolutely, but it's also ACHD. I'm sorry. It's always a tongue twister for me to play catch up to your plans.
Well, it is, but remember, until just a few years ago, we never really asked ACHD for anything. They pretty much
Okay.
gave us what we asked for,
Gotcha.
which was
Okay.
nothing. But so now we're asking hard. We're even asking for a little makeup love, if you will.
Oh.
But once you start getting those projects going with ACHD, it takes like 5 years to go through their funnel process.
They have a process
So
for
it,
that.
so it,
yeah.
it takes a while, but we are leaning into that pretty hard too.
But
Sounds
I
good.
seriously, send me a message and stuff and we can set up a meeting and chat so I can explain stuff in detail for you.
Sounds good to me.
Work.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
you betcha.
Councilman
Thank you.
Keys. Thank you, council members.
I'm glad you came the first time, so keep coming. You guys want to say anything, Mr. Arbiter? Oh, yeah, so there's also, if you go to the city website under mayor and council, there's a mayor's page that has all the presentations on there, including budget and all that kind of stuff, state of the city. I did a workshop for property taxes, a workshop on growth with the citizens here, and it's all recorded on there as well, so. Cool, you bet. All right, so we're gonna leave that one open till this, there is nobody online, correct, Dana, to speak towards it? Okay, we're gonna leave this one open until December 21st. And I encourage anybody that's listening that wants to make comments towards it, to please send it in writing to city staff, to Sean Nichols or Jacob, to get it, Jacob Qualls. Okay. We'll move on to the public hearing for the architectural overlay. You'll be interested in this one too. So we'll move on to public hearing for architectural overlay for commercial business district. Again, we're going to leave this one open until December 21st before we do an approval on this architectural overlay. I'm going to have Councilman Keys speak to this one as well.
Mr. Mayor. So this is another plan that in my opinion has been long overdue in the city of Star. And again, I'd like to thank Ryan and the staff at Logan Simpson for their hard work on this. The plan itself is not ginormous. It's only 21 pages. But since we started working on this, and I also want to point out that we've leveraged pretty heavily off of the architectural design guidelines for the South of the River plan. But I would encourage people when they look through this to spend a lot of time in chapter 3 and a lot of time in chapter 2 looking at the specifics of the site design requirements. Chapter 1 has a lot of vision guiding principles, and those I think are critical and important. But you know, when you look at where's the rubber hit the road, that's really in chapter 2 and chapter 3, and I would encourage people to look at that. The only change to this plan that we proposed since this draft came out was to extend the boundaries of it. So the initial proposal for the boundaries was the part of our central business district on State Street, and then the existing central business district that we've defined in our comprehensive plan along Highway 44. And we retained the boundaries on State Street, but we did, or it's proposed that we modify the boundaries on State Highway 44 to basically go from city limit to city limit. And essentially, the way the ordinance is written with that adoption is it extends that architectural overlay district east and west as our city limits grow in that direction as well. And over time, you know, if you look at our downtown now, it's really pretty random. But over time, as properties redevelop and as new properties are built, I believe that the citizens of Star will begin to see some cohesiveness and basically defining Star and its character by putting together some pleasant architecture around a common theme. And the common theme, I believe that I think what we're calling it is Modern Mountain. So I'll let you decide what that means, but please look through chapter 2 and chapter 3, and I think that'll help you understand that a little better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, again, on this plan, this was a lot of input was provided from citizens, specifically those that were at the workshops there at the River House. Logan Simpson had some boards up there with all sorts of different design styles and features and had people mark out which ones they liked the best, right? And that's how this came out to the, what do they call, what you call it? Modern Mountain. Modern Mountain. And it talks about building materials, building articulation. Let's see here. The kinds of signage you want to see, the lighting, public spaces, parking, all sorts of different things like that, which I think is important. I mean, one of the biggest You know, I've been pushing commercial like crazy here in our town. And one of the biggest concerns people have is how different everything is instead of having a theme. And that's what this is about, is creating that idea of what we want it to look like as a community. And we have talked to some of these businesses that are coming in and ask them if they can follow this design even before it's approved, and some of them are willing to do so. So that's even nice to see. So do you guys have any questions on that or comments? Mr. Kevin, Miss Jennifer. We'll go Miss Jennifer first.
Okay, fine. I reviewed the plan, looks really good overall. I think it's great. One thing I would like the council to possibly consider to add is in the parking section, 2.2.
Okay.
So I believe that the plan says, you know, most of the parking will be, you know, we want the parking in the back of the buildings. They're along the, you know, main streets. But in cases, if we have to set up like a parking lot for, you know, because of the reconfiguration of State Street, and we need to look at parking here in this area, maybe we should consider adding like a small wall to separate the parking lot from like the sidewalk.
So on this, I don't know if you saw this on here, but if the parcels develop as a parking lot, provide a minimum 30-foot wide landscape buffer between the parking lot and the public right of way. So
Yep.
is that taking care
Yes.
of your
But I would
concern?
like to add to require screening of surface parking lots where they face a public right of way to minimize a visual impact of parked vehicles.
So put more landscaping in there.
Or I have a picture too, or a
Hardscape?
screen, or like a short little paved wall or
Oh, I see what
something.
you're saying.
If
We
you
can-
wanna,
So do me a favor, send that
Okay.
to Councilman Keys and to Sean and to Ryan, and Councilman Keys can do his massage magic
Okay.
that he does on some of that stuff. Right? Okay.
okay, and then my other, let's see, in section 2.1.4, so this is
2.1?
more 1.4. So more of a discussion and clarification on my end. 2.1.4. So it says the setbacks include a front building setback from the property line along a public right of way of a minimum of 0 feet to a maximum of 20 feet. And so I'm wondering about that 20 feet back, like, you know, what's going to be in that area then? Oh, okay. Signing.
Well, do we need to define it though?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Keys, I can't get this to.
So,
pull up right.
yeah, if you read that section, it says that the front and street setbacks are intended for landscaping and pedestrian amenities. So it's pedestrian amenities, but it could also be, it could be street side dining. It could be a lot of things, but it's really meant to be enjoyed by the public and not just a slab of concrete.
Gotcha.
It could be public art.
Okay.
You said 2.16, right?
4.
I'm sorry.
2.14, it's on.
Here we go.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. And then my last one was 2.1.6 was, so there's this 2.1.6. In the Riverfront Center, Main Street area, include a minimum of 75% of the building facade as paved sidewalk or plaza, intended to increase walkability and pedestrian activity. So I'm wondering why that's not 100%.
Because you want landscaping in there too. You want trees and
So I have it, so
benches.
you have the full 100% of the building, right? But only 75% is going to include sidewalk, plaza space.
Councilwoman, may I add to that?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of a scenario where a building may be on a corner and it may have two facades. Right, and that, would the 75% apply to both sides that face that, or do we need to specify that? I think we just need a little more clarity on that, and I agree, why not 100%?
So what is that? Is this Jen?
Miss Jen is here, yes.
Do you know what the intent was for 75% by chance?
Yeah, so it could be any number. It could be 100%, it could be 75%. The intent is to create that active space in front of the buildings in this area. So it's just to state that it needs to be some sort of plaza or sidewalk or paved active space, outdoor dining, that type of thing, to, like I said, just to keep that space active.
So when we say 75% of the building, are we just saying if the building's 100 feet long, only 75 feet of it has to be paved and the other 25 doesn't? Or is it saying if you have 100 foot by, let's say, 15-foot section, that only like you can have a 5-foot landscape strip in front of that with the rest of that being sidewalk?
Yes,
trying to
I believe
understand.
that was probably more the intention. So I'm reading this again, thinking maybe it does need some clarification. I agree with you guys.
Okay, so we'll clean that one up, Ms.
We'll
Jen,
work on that.
on what that means, because I think we intend, we want it all to be sidewalks, but with some landscaping, I think,
Right.
in there too, right?
It
Yep.
should be
Okay.
more like 75% of the area, not 75% of the building
Facade,
frontage, if you
Yeah.
will.
okay? What else you got, Ms.
And
Jen?
that's it. I just had some little things, but typos, but I'll email them.
Okay, Councilman Nielsen?
Mine was included in that discussion.
Okay, so you're good?
Yes, I'm complete.
Okay. Mr. David or Mr. Michael, anything?
I'm fine for now. I didn't even think of that part, so I'm just staring at it.
Oh, it's good. Okay, do we have anybody sign up? Dana back there, did you guys want to speak to it or anything? No? No? Okay. The final result, that's what you want to see, huh? So we'll leave this one open also until November, we're going backwards, December 21st. And again, I encourage the public to comment on this, send it in to writing to Sean Nichols and Jacob Qualls, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman,
can we provide a prominent space on the city's webpage with links to these documents and invite people to comment, tell them how?
yep. We could do that.
Yep.
Pretty easy, I think pretty easy. I say it's easy, but Miss Dana, she'll take care of that. She'll figure that out for us. So we'll put a link on the front of the city's website that'll allow people to get to it. So, okay. All right. On to item 8 then, discussion items on a unified development code amendments. So the code is what drives, it's the backbone of all of our stuff. And these are some of the amendment stuff we're tackling, and it'll come out, actually come out on the 21st, right? A red line document by the 21st with all these?
No, I'll have something free next week. I'll give you.
Well, I
guys-
mean, but for the 21st hearing, no.
Yes, it'll be free.
Right, right. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some administrative interpretations and corrections. We're going to discuss the horizontal apartments build to rent, neighborhoods, defining it, zoning district uses, specific use standards. We're going to include inclusion of Canyon Highway District number 4. We'll have some setbacks, setback discussions, talk about no waivers. We're going to have some sidewalk standards. The Transportation Committee has actually been working pretty hard on this and have come up with some good sidewalk standards throughout our entire town, including detached sidewalks. We're going to talk about the traditional lot standards, common area updates, swimming pool requirements for large developments, signage, architectural design standards in the CBD commercial areas, which we kind of talked about here, and our street lights, right? What else we got going on that?
Anything else that the council
Wants
like
to talk about tonight?
discuss?
Yeah, Mr. Chadwick.
Well, Councilman Keys. Go ahead.
One of the things that as we're putting together some more standards in here is I like to I know the council's talked about it, but I'd like to come up with some words to put in the requirement for articulated building fronts in our residential neighborhoods so that the buildings just don't all line up on a plane. I know our minimum setback for buildings from the sidewalk is 15 feet. And, they're all going to be 15 feet in some neighborhoods unless we say that, no, you got to articulate them by, 2 or 3 feet on each one, just to kind of break up that plane. So I'd like to add words to that effect in there. And I can work with Sean on the specific language.
Okay. All right, Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you. And I can probably add to that just a little bit, but let me just go down the list here a little bit. So along with setbacks, no waivers, I'd like for us to consider trade-offs between our open space requirement and increased setbacks, especially in the frontage of houses. Kind of my thought on that. I mean, we have pretty drastic open space requirements right now, and it's not always feasible in some subdivisions to meet that, or desirable even to create such a large amount of public or homeowner open space. It creates a burden on HOA dues and things like that. And there may be some subdivisions where it makes sense to take that open space and put it in a yard, make a homeowner responsible, and create a whole different look and feel, which kind of goes in line with what Councilman Keys is talking about. Get away from everything is just 15 feet deep, and let's get some that are 30 or 40 feet deep, or maybe a little bit wider. So I think if our code can allow for a developer to make that trade-off in their development, we still get technically the open space. It just kind of determines the ownership of it.
So it's basically creating larger lots by giving them a open space waiver.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Pursuant to that, I think that we could also have zones designated that instead of having R4, for example, be averaged over the entire property, actually have R4. Give us a quarter acre lot, not averaged over. So
designate the size of the lot based on the designation, right?
in this particular zone, R4 means quarter acre lots. R3 means third acre lots, etc. Just adding some variety and some other tools for the council and for our comprehensive plan to allow for different types for a variety of development and probably a little better outcome in some cases too. Also, as we're thinking about this, I've been driving around town. I've been trying to find areas and examples of where our intent was really good, but the outcome hasn't been quite what we envisioned. And the American Star subdivision brings up several of those for me. Stormwater collection facilities they line our streets, and I don't know if the engineering isn't quite right, but they also are standing water. So now along our streets, we've got these puddles to grow mosquitoes and weeds and things like that. And it just hasn't turned out well. And I remember in our hearing on that subdivision, we spent a lot of time talking about the landscaping and how it would be landscaped along the street and be beautiful and things like that. And man, I'm just so disappointed in how that's turned out.
So that is one that we were disappointed in as well.
Yep.
We've been driving some of that conversation.
This isn't a criticism of you or anything.
No, I understand. But some of this horizontal apartment build or rent neighborhood stuff is what derived from that development there.
Yeah. But I don't want to confuse what I'm talking about with that horizontal rent stuff.
You're just talking in general though, not.
I'm talking in general. I don't want to see stormwater collection facilities lining our collector roads and arterials. If they want to put it along streets, put them inside the subdivision. But our streets need to be absolutely beautiful. And this needs to be a city that people want to come visit. And when you walk down the sidewalk, you're not attacked by mosquitoes or things like that. So no standing water, swales and retaining ponds, like I said, interior of the sub, and any similar constructs. Let's see, the residential over commercial intent, when we were talking about that, what we've seen brought to us thus far, I like it okay, but it's not really what I envisioned. And what I've seen in this plan, if you scroll up to that parking, where the parking was in back of the buildings and the buildings are out front, yeah. I drive down in downtown Meridian every day now, and they've got just an awesome development down there. It's right next to the new Keller building, which is also a fantastic development. But they've got a 3-story apartment complex with commercial on the bottom, and it's designated out for lots of different shops and things like that. It's built right up to the sidewalk. You can just see as that develops that there's going to be dining areas out in front, great walkability, window shopping. It's going to be a really nice development, and that's more of what I had envisioned when we were talking about that. And so maybe there's some language we could put in there that really drives us towards CBD development rather than just kind of like a studio loft with a little bit of commercial space or a shop underneath. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
No, I
I'm
just,
seeing the propensity for that rather than some actual build us a downtown with brick.
well, I would encourage
Durable
everybody to go
surfaces.
look at, is it Stonecrest?
Mhm.
Chris Todd. I think if we go look at what he's built like 2 of the buildings already for the live above and work down below.
Yep.
And take a look at it and see what it looks like and see, I guess, envision what that actually looks like when we're talking about updating the code.
Yeah, and I would say that doesn't not meet the vision. But I think I felt like there would be less of that and more of the let me build a good sized building and get some density along our highways. If we build strip malls, our city's not going to look great. And if it's a strip mall with residential above it, it's still not going to look great. We need some real honest to goodness commercial building, commercial residential building. And that's, to me, that what makes a really good city. Look, and the downtown look like a downtown. So I'm looking to improve what we've already done. I'm happy with what we've done. It's not a criticism. Nobody's wrong. I just want to see us, improve and shape that vision a little bit more. Bridges, that go over the canals. A lot of times we just see a galvanized steel culvert with some gravel coming out of it, or maybe some concrete, or we may even see poured concrete. And I think that we could up our game on that. If we take, like, for example, river rock and do some masonry or some brick and decorate those, finish them off, make it look like, think of the dog park and the culvert that goes over there. Think of how much better that dog park would look if we had that finished off with some nice rock and masonry. That's all I got.
That's good.
You're great.
Good comments. I do know. So when you went through, did you drive through Maristar?
Yeah.
So that ditch where they did their bridge, with the concrete and the black rail on the top, is that acceptable as a design, or are you looking for taking that concrete and putting rock on it with like the black rail? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm thinking take that concrete, decorate it.
And is it something, let me ask Sean a question, is that something that we can dictate how we want that to look, however they get it designed with ACHD? Because ACHD is the ultimate one that says, right?
I think we can. Yeah.
Yeah, we can? Okay,
Unless they
all right.
buy off of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's not that looks bad. It's very utilitarian.
Right.
Right.
Got it. You got that? Yeah. Further comment, that's good. I like that. That's a good idea.
Great comments. To build on that, the Maristar example, I also noticed, like, on the back of those homes, they all look the same.
Yep.
And if we could include something in our code, there's probably something there now that does it, that for the front of the homes, that they look different, but there may not be anything that addresses the back of the homes for along collectors and arterials. So if we could include something there so that they all don't look identical.
I think we started working on that, I think, right?
Working on it. Yep.
Yeah, we are. Yep.
And then I believe, Sean, that there was discussion about adding ADA compliance in our code too. Is that gonna be part of the
For what?
detached sidewalk section or just in general? Because I did do a quick search and I didn't see anywhere in our code that it says, that we need to be, that, they need to be ADA compliant.
Those are come from ACHT.
And that's already a requirement with ADA sidewalks.
Yeah, but what about the private streets?
They're still required to be ADA compliant.
But we can add that to the
Okay.
private road section.
Okay, thank
Make sure
you.
that that's in there.
So do we need to just add that in general, Sean, because we have CHD4 on the County side? Or are they gonna just,
I can put it as a statement in all the roadway
well, and I think,
standards, just to
right.
reaffirm that,
And I think the work
to
that
make sure that the ADA is being complied with.
and I think the work that the transportation,
Yeah.
that you guys have been working on the sidewalks and stuff is gonna address that too, I believe, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any further comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just have one other thing we've been talking about, and it's something that that did pop up in our South of the River plan, and that is in that plan, they call out what they call high density residential, and our code calls for different R levels of density, if you will, but there's not one where we just specifically say high density residential or multifamily. And I'm wondering if we want to contemplate adding another area to our development code where we specifically are defining where apartments go, because as a city, as you know, we can't not allow apartments per federal fair housing law, but we can sure as heck determine where they go. And if we call them out specifically and call out places for them, I just wonder if that would give the city just another level of control in that regard.
We kind of already do with the mixed use designations of the comp plan. That's where they are allowed. We have no other zones that would allow that other than the mixed use.
Well,
Because of the
and
density.
anything over R12.
That you only can do that in the mixed use.
Okay, or even up to R12 or even R10.
We don't have, we have the highest we have, what is R10? Or 10 above?
No, we have,
Where you want, you have R15.
I know,
Yeah,
but what do
yeah.
we have currently in our comp plan? I'm trying to remember what the. highest
we
density-
don't have a cap.
Yeah, we don't really have a cap.
I know, does it say 10 and up?
No.
Or does it say,
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
right.
compact residential basically goes to 10. So, 10.1 and up is out there, but
So define that. You're saying define the location or define the code? I mean, the terminology.
just define the terminology for specifically for high density residential apartments. Maybe even, maybe multi-story, whatever, but I'm just wondering if it's something, if the city has an appetite to define that type of density, and then specifically to sharpen our pencils and determine where it goes.
Okay,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
that one of the things I really like about that idea, for all the reasons that Councilman Keith stated, but I also think that we have the potential to look at in a zone like that, our height restrictions. And again, my mind is drawn to, the new Keller Engineering building in Meridian and that commercial apartment that I was talking about, both more than 35 feet, absolutely beautiful construction and really, really a great outcome. And if we were to make some of those designations, then we could, ease some of those restrictions and attract a whole different level and quality of development.
Okay. You got that, Sean?
Yep.
Okay. Councilman Hershey?
Oh, I could spend 5 minutes recapping, but one thing I wrote, and it's already been addressed several times, I just said, avoid a Maristar look and feel. So that's the one that came right to my mind. And, the old factory houses that are all lined up.
It's the barracks.
We're actually gonna have a definition that specifically.
I just came back from the East Coast and I just remember seeing the little towns.
So just so everybody's aware, when we started seeing that happening, we can't make them change, but the whole building, but we did require them, we stopped issuing permits until they change the, a little bit of the back, right? Added some different features to it to kind of give it a different look. And so Ryan's been all over this for me. It's just, it doesn't, I mean, it's still the box, but it gives it a little different look on the box.
So,
right?
well, some of the things you'll see in my proposed
Language.
zoning language for we'll just call them horizontal apartments, but would be, you can't have any more than 5 or 7 of the same type of house next to each other. So you've got to go 5 different houses before you can start the next 5. And you can't do, you can't put the same houses next door or across the street. It's going to really try to break them up. There'll be a minimum based on the number of lots you have, a minimum. So if you have, like, for example, 1 to 50 lots in the subdivision, you'll have to have a minimum of 5 architectural types, and then it goes up from there. Things like that, I think we can put in there, and maybe not just for the horizontal apartments, maybe just for all residential subdivisions to provide that variety. Try to get those backyards, back property elevations on a collector to where they don't look like a wall of the same exact thing, and some articulation and things like that. I think you're going to. I think we have the ability to change all that, to put all that in the code. So we're kind of using that example, and it's helping us to help.
Can I weigh in with an opinion on that? The term horizontal apartments, to me, that feels like we could get in trouble if we actually try to put that in code. I understand that, but the term exists, and the Fair Housing Act probably hasn't been tested on that. It's also a little disingenuous because apartments are not single family detached. Apartments are by definition attached. So, I mean, whether we use it or not, I'm not going to fight that, but I think that we get a little dangerous. We're wading into untested waters, maybe unnecessarily, by using that designation. But what you just said solves that problem. Right. And why even allow for 4 or 5 in a row? Let's just say, no repeating architecture. Put space in between it.
Well, along like arterials and collectors, right? Like on the main roads. I guess that's where most of the issue is, right?
Well, that's where people
Interior.
see it. But even
Right.
when you drive into a subdivision, if suddenly then you've just got, blocks of the same type of construction, that's not really desirable either.
So I'm going to go back to what you said earlier about treating R3 as third acre, R4 as quarter acre. You know what I mean? I think a combination of this stuff with some different setbacks is going to change a lot of that look that we're trying to avoid. Like we've always said, we were trying to make these things last 50 years to 100 years in the future, not something that's going to look like garbage in 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. Or the perception of garbage in 20 years. That's the goal, right? On that.
And we're not trying to restrict rentals by any means, but I get what you're saying, and our attorneys will obviously look and make sure we're not violating any.
It's probably not a violation, but just by designating, there's single family houses. Anytime they could be sold as a single family house.
I think
the reason we're trying to put a different definition on them is when they're strictly a rental community. There's certain things we need to treat them like an apartment complex, because there's common area, there's common facades, there's roofing, there's things that now no longer the homeowner is responsible for the front yard. You've got a common area of maintenance. You've got common maintenance of the buildings and things like that. That's the stuff.
And I think we're going to try to define that.
I think that's why we're calling them horizontal apartments.
If it's a corporate thing, it's different than if it is individuals buying the house and renting them out.
Maybe.
Mr. Mayor.
But a corporation could come in and buy a whole subdivision. Think of 2005, 2006, 2008, when we had entire subdivisions that were approved, not like that. A corporation could have come in and done that.
Well, and that's where I think we adjust our code. If you're talking the bare land subdivisions that were sitting there, or ones that were
And even,
Built out.
and even some that had spec homes sitting on them that sat empty for 3
Sure.
years and went into foreclosure.
But I think we need to define what a horizontal, I think we need to attack that horizontal apartment instead of letting it run us over. If they want to challenge it, challenge it. That's my opinion, because we need to control what our look looks like at the city. And if we have that happen again without saying, listen, we need to make certain that on an apartment complex, we already know on a complex that all that landscaping and stuff is going to be taken care of by a sole source, right? On a horizontal apartment complex, we want to make sure the landscaping stays good. You know, models like, you hear what their model is after 20 years, they sell the buildings.
Yep.
This corporation. Well, what happens in 20 years?
Single family homes.
Well, no. What happens in 20 years, you're due for paint jobs, you're due for roofing, you're due for all that kind of stuff, right? Unless you can get that in your purchase of the facility, we run the risk of having some challenges and issues down the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I also want to point out that the term horizontal apartments is not meant to be pejorative. It's meant to reflect the fact that an apartment complex is really a commercial enterprise. And even though these are single family detached homes, this is a commercial enterprise. They're just horizontal instead of vertical. And I think the reflection in that term is basically to indicate that the commercial nature of it and the fact that it needs to be treated as a commercial entity. That's where that term came from.
Yeah, I get it. I don't see it the same way. I mean, you're a developer of a subdivision and you are a commercial enterprise, and that subdivision is your commercial enterprise. So that when we start making, and this is my concern, when we start making distinctions between the intent or the ownership or things like that, that's not contemplated in property rights. You know, those rights are based on the zoning, and the zoning is single family residential, R3 or R4, or whatever that is. And we don't care who owns it. And I don't think that it's wise for us to, you know, Mayor, in your terms, to go pick a fight with them. Let's just write our ordinances so that it works out regardless.
That's what we're doing,
of who's there.
I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
However we get there, that's what we're doing. Right.
I'm on board with that.
Okay. All right, any other comments? You stayed, Mr. Arbiter. Do you want to speak? Okay, good. Kevin. Okay, all right. So we know what we got going on. Sean's been typing away, man. He's at his door shut. He's gonna have red line documents for us, and the red lines will come out for the public to see. Okay. You'll be alive. I have faith.
Mayor Chadwick,
Yes, sir.
just one last thought on that.
Okay.
No, really.
Go ahead.
And I think this solves for.
Hang on,
for a lot of
Councilman
us.
Nielsen got the floor.
You know, I think the concern over a rental property being sold that's in disrepair, we could probably have an ordinance that covers that.
Right, and that's why I think we'll fix all this within that.
Right.
Sure.
And we wouldn't have to designate, and then we don't have to pick on a corporation that's got a rental property. It can be just an individual person that's got a rental property and conversion of that. Or I don't know how we'd work that out, but
No, well, I think we'll work it out. We'll figure that out. With a combination of all or above, right? Or part of. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so that will be on the agenda for next hearing. We also will have comprehensive plan adjustments on the next, on December 21st as well. We completed our committee of 9 with Canyon County right before Thanksgiving, I think, right? Yeah, right before Thanksgiving, where we have a map identified for a comp plan. I'm sorry, for a zoning area or impact area in Canyon County and an ordinance identified as well. And so we'll be approving those officially. I know we approved the map already once, but we'll approve them officially on December 21st. Okay. Along with some whatever other changes we have at that time frame. Any comments, questions, concerns? Nobody online, right? Chris is now, does he want to speak? Oh, so Chris is Yeah, he's on the great state of Hawaii right now. He just landed right before a hearing. So, so he's over there right now. So, okay. You have any comments, Mr. Chris? Okay. All right. So we will, we'll just follow up with that stuff on December 21st. So we're going to move on to item, on an amended agenda item number 9, executive session. Can you make a motion to go in executive session?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen,
I move that we go into executive session to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated.
I'm not sure. Did you say 74-206F? Almost. Say that.
74-206F.
All right, thank you. We got a motion and a second. We're gonna do a roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
I
Okay, it is 8:10. We're gonna go into executive session. We're gonna shut the system down and kick everybody out. Thank you.